We are receiving reports that Israel is moments away from signing a deal with Hamas. But why Hamas is stalling? Despite an agreed-upon outline in principle, Hamas has not yet confirmed the list of hostages to be released. Let's dive into the details of the hostage deal and go over its phases, numbers, and conditions of the emerging deal and the continuing negotiations. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said on Tuesday evening that the deal will be finalized in a matter of days or hours, but noted that Hamas has not yet given its response. Netanyahu stressed, when Trump enters the White House, the rules of the game will change. Any violation will receive a harsh and powerful response. Meanwhile, northern Gaza has been defined as the focal point of the Hamas threat, and the IDF is stepping up its activities before the deal goes into effect. While this is going on here in Israel, the rest of the world continues to change, and that includes Iran, where thousands of workers are reported to be expanding a nuclear facility, and a senior regime official is accusing Israel of planting explosives in a component of the centrifuges. In the meantime, the political situation in Lebanon is affecting the lawsuit against Israel in The Hague, as Nawaf Salam, the president of the International Court, who harshly criticized Israel during the hearings at the tribunal, resigned from the court. This came after he accepted the role of Prime Minister of Lebanon that he was appointed to by Lebanon's new president, Joseph Aoun. As these changes come to Lebanon, another change in the broader Middle East appears to be brewing as Iran's power declines and Turkey's increases. Closer to home, Israel is dealing with a rise in violence in Judea and Samaria and is acting to contain it. We have a lot to talk about today, so let's dive into the details. I'm Yair Pinto, and this is your Boots on the Ground report on what's happening in Israel on day 466 of the war against Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis in Yemen, and the Shiite militias in Iraq. All of them are taking their orders from Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps, which is the head of the axis of evil in the Middle East. Our mission is to bring you the truth from Israel so that you will have the tools to pray for the peace of Jerusalem. This is a spiritual war, and a moment before we start, if you want to receive a daily Boots on the Ground report, visit our YouTube channel, TBN Israel. Please visit our channel and click the subscribe button so that you'll always remain focused on the truth in real time and never miss another episode of Boots on the Ground. The terror organization Hamas, managed by Mohammed Sinwar, has not yet given a response regarding the agreement brokered by the United States, and several Arab governments even thought that Hamas representatives in the talks signaled positive answers from their side. Israel and the mediators are still waiting for a final answer, as an Israeli official said that talks are in the final stretch of negotiations and focusing on technical details. The big question is whether it's a technical delay or if once again Hamas is toying with Israel. The negotiations, which have been going on for many weeks, are being conducted under absolute secrecy, among other reasons to prevent political pressure. But in recent days, apparently, because the gaps between the parties have narrowed, many reports have begun to surface regarding the details. Here's everything we know so far. According to the outline, in the first stage, 33 hostages will be released, and we published the full list of them on our website, tbnisrael.com. According to estimates in Israel, most of the hostages on the list are alive, but there is no complete certainty about that. Israel has effectively given up on its demand to receive a list of living hostages and continues to move forward with the deal without it. In the first stage of the deal, women and children of the Bibas family are expected to be released. After that, female soldiers, then adults over the age of 50, and those defined as wounded and sick. The release is supposed to continue throughout the entire first stage, over 42 days. On the 16th day of the first stage, discussions on implementing the second stage of the deal will begin. The agreement, as stated, is divided into 3 stages, and yesterday, political sources said it might be reduced to 2. During the second stage, the rest of the hostages in captivity are supposed to be released, perhaps along with the remains of those who have been murdered in captivity. It is important to remember that among the remaining hostages are 36 who are known to already be deceased. There are also 7 foreigners among them and 22 other Israelis who are believed to still be alive, but if they are returned in the deal, it certainly won't be in this first stage. On the other side of the equation, around 1,300 terrorists are expected to be released from Israeli prisons in the first stage. However, since Israel does not know who amongst the hostages to be released in the first stage is alive, it's not certain that all 1,300 terrorists will be released, and the number can change depending on the fate of the hostages who will be released in the first stage. Israel is also demanding that those who are serving prison time for murder will not be allowed to return to Judea and Samaria, but will be exiled to Gaza, Turkey, or perhaps Qatar. In any case, in the first stage, no Nukhba terrorists captured in the Gaza Strip during this current war will be released. According to a Saudi report that is not confirmed by any other entity, Hamas also demanded the release of the corpse of the terrorist organization's leader, Yair Sinwar. A political source in Israel responded, that will not happen, period. As for the IDF's presence on the ground, forces are expected to remain on the Philadelphia corridor in the first stage and withdraw to a buffer zone gradually in order to ensure Hamas implements the deal. The IDF is also supposed to leave the Netzarim territory that essentially divides the north from the south of the Gaza Strip, allowing displaced Gazan residents to return to northern Gaza under a security check, the nature of which was not detailed in this agreement. These are the technical details, and here at TBN Israel, we will continue reporting on whatever happens or changes, and will go live on our TBN Israel YouTube channel to bring you the truth in real time. Stay tuned to the truth, and if you want to receive daily boots on the ground updates, subscribe to our YouTube channel, TBN Israel, and most importantly, pray for the peace of Jerusalem. In the meantime, amid the fighting in the Gaza Strip, the IDF is ramping up its actions against Hamas. During the fighting in Bet Hanun over the last 24 hours, soldiers noticed a terrorist attempting to booby-trap a building about 200 meters from where the forces were operating as he was linking cables into that building. They encircled the terrorist, eliminated him, and a fighter jet destroyed the booby-trap building. And meanwhile, the IDF is examining whether a technical malfunction or human error by one of the soldiers led to the detonation of an explosive device of the Tsefa infantry type that caused the disaster earlier this week in Bet Hanun. A Tsefa infantry device is an explosive composed of chain charges that are somewhat like small fragmentation grenades. It is used to clear a footpath for infantry forces operating in mined areas or in zones with hidden charges. The device's effect is to create a safe route for foot forces for a distance of a few dozen meters. According to IDF sources, the force intended to deploy the device in order to open a footpath with a controlled explosion that they were supposed to carry out. For reasons not yet clarified, the force's explosive went off prematurely and caused the building to collapse on the soldiers. As mentioned, the IDF is now investigating what caused the device to activate while the forces were inside the building. The IDF has not yet issued instructions to halt the use of this tool, which is considered safe to operate. And meanwhile, the IDF is intensifying its combat pressure so that by the time that the ceasefire comes into effect, Hamas in northern Gaza will be defeated, including in Bet Hanun, where Hamas squads are still challenging IDF forces. The IDF says it is prepared to carry out any decision of the political echelon, including withdrawing from areas it holds in Gaza. It also notes that holding deep territory, including preventing residents from traveling from the south of the Gaza Strip to the north, is meant to serve operational needs, but the entire military operation is intended to fulfill the war's objectives, the central one being to bring the hostages back home. At the same time, following the hostage deal, Israel agreed to soften its stance regarding the return of Palestinian residents to northern Gaza, an issue that had so far been an obstacle in negotiations. According to the report, Israel will allow free pedestrian passage into the northern Gaza Strip. However, the newspaper El Sharak El Awsat reports that vehicles traveling north will be subject to security checks in order to prevent the smuggling of weapons. Northern Gaza has been designated as a center of gravity for Hamas, which threatens focal points adjacent to the border fence, including the Erez community, Sderot, and Kibbutz Nir Am. Those can be targeted by anti-tank missiles, mortar fire, and sniper fire. The Nachal Brigade battle group is operating in Bet Hanun under the Gaza Division as part of a broader campaign that the Southern Command is conducting in the north of the Gaza Strip, alongside the 162nd Division fighting in other focal areas of the Strip. The Southern Command is exerting pressure on two flanks in northern Gaza to kill terrorists and destroy terror infrastructure, including command posts, launch sites, weapons depots, headquarters, and safe houses located above and below the ground. The fighters are also working to demolish structures from which IDF soldiers and Israeli civilians can be harmed. We note with sadness the operational activity in Bet Hanun has cost many soldiers' lives, including 15 killed in action just in the past week. In the operations in the north of the Gaza Strip, 55 soldiers have fallen in this current action. Our hearts ache deeply for the soldiers who have fallen in recent fighting, and our prayers are with the families. Here at TBN Israel, we ask you to keep praying for Israel, and we will continue reporting on every development. We invite you to click the subscribe button so you remain attuned to the truth from Israel and pray for the situation. Now shifting our focus to Israel's greatest enemy, the Islamic Revolutionary Guards in Iran. In recent days, information has reached the National Council of Iranian Resistance. This is a group of Iranian expats based in Washington, D.C., who oppose the current regime in Iran. The information that was revealed on Friday indicates that Iran's Center for Technological Research, which focuses on nuclear-related matters, has intensified its activities. And according to the report, operations at the Sanjarian site has also been stepped up. The International Atomic Energy Agency did not respond to questions about the findings of the group, so it remains unclear which advancement or research Iran is conducting in the nuclear field. That same organization found that Iran additionally expanded one of its sites for bomb testing, known as Program 6, located within the Parchin military site, which, according to foreign reports, Israel has attacked several times using covert operations. Speaking of attacks on Iranian nuclear facilities, a more direct approach has been made possible by the removal of the Assad regime in Syria and the subsequent destruction of that regime's air defense infrastructure. The hundreds of surface-to-air missile sites that used to make flying through Syrian airspace so dangerous are gone, and this gives the Israeli Air Force a clear path to fly towards Iran if the political echelon decides to attack Iran's nuclear sites from the air. In anticipation of receiving such an order, the Air Force is training and preparing to execute this plan, and is also making an effort to convince the United States to join in this mission. This comes a month after the Wall Street Journal news portal reported that United States President-elect Donald Trump is exploring ways to block Iran's nuclear program, including using airstrikes. According to the report, which is based on two sources, Trump recently told Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu that he wants to prevent Iran from achieving a breakthrough in the nuclear field. And meanwhile, there has been no pause in the covert operations against Iran's nuclear facilities, and there were some hints of this in recent days coming from an unexpected source. In a recent televised interview with the Persian language program Khozur, Iranian Vice President Mohammad Zarif claimed that Israel planted explosives in centrifuge technology acquired for Iran's nuclear program. He went on to explain that due to sanctions, Iran was forced to rely on third parties when purchasing equipment, thereby increasing its vulnerability to Israeli sabotage attempts. He even admitted that explosives were discovered in a centrifuge platform that was purchased, though he did not specify when the incident took place. Here at TBN Israel, we will continue to update you on all developments related to Iran's nuclear program and its threats against Israel and the world. We ask you to help us by sharing our videos on YouTube and following us on social media. We work hard to bring you the truth, and any financial contribution will help our activities continue. So click the donate button on YouTube or go to tbnisrael.com/give. Every dollar will be invested in creating more videos. Switching our focus now to the situation in Lebanon. Nawaf Salam, the president of the International Court in The Hague, announced on Tuesday evening that he's stepping down from his position, and his resignation took immediate effect. This development comes shortly after Lebanon's new president, Joseph Aoun, appointed Salam as prime minister and tasked him with forming the government. Salam has long been a fierce critic of Israel, using his platform at the United Nations and elsewhere to speak out against Israel's policies, frequently accusing the Jewish state of violating international law. As president of the International Court, he was amongst the strongest critics of Israel's Operation Swords of Iron in the Gaza Strip over the past 15 months, but now he has a bigger project, rescuing Lebanon from the political, economic, and social crisis in which it finds itself. In related news, Major General Ori Gordin, the commander of the IDF Northern Command Area of Operations, visited the Western Galilee this week and met with the local council head, Shimon Guetta, and community members. Gordin told journalists accompanying him on that trip, "We will continue to enforce the agreement, and we are enforcing it all the time. Since the start of the agreement, we have 49 Hezbollah operatives that were terminated, and at the same time, we destroyed most of the terror infrastructure up to the Litani." Here at TBN Israel, we will continue to update you on all the latest developments on Israel's northern border in that area. Once again, we ask you to help us by sharing our videos on YouTube, following us on social media, and clicking on the subscribe button if you haven't already. Now, we want to step back and take a wider look at general developments in the Middle East. The biggest upcoming development in the region is something that will actually happen thousands of kilometers away in Washington, D.C. On Monday, January 20th, United States President-elect Donald Trump will take the oath of office to become America's 47th president. Every country in the Middle East will have to adapt to this new reality, and they are already making plans and taking actions to better position themselves in the new geopolitical environment. Two of the region's most powerful actors are on the move, going in opposite directions. Turkey is rising its regional power and influence, while Iran is losing ground. Saudi Arabia, meanwhile, is greatly relieved at this development, as it anticipates having an easier time getting along with Turkey, which is predominantly Sunni rather than predominantly Shiite Iran. Saudi Arabia is already funding reconstruction projects in Syria, aiming to push away Iran's influence. Turkey, for its part, seeks to strengthen its hold in northern Syria because of security issues, primarily the conflict with the Kurds. Turkey is feeling its new power and has begun to press for its advantage. For instance, Turkey recently canceled the custom exemption on fuel coming from Iran by tanker trucks, a move indicating a shift in Turkish policy and possibly reducing the flow of Iranian fuel and harming its economy. In addition, Turkey has renewed its relations with Saudi Arabia, which has deposited billions of dollars in Turkish banks and helped stabilize the Turkish economy. Turkey is rapidly becoming a central ally for the Gulf states in the anti-Iran alliance. Because of this, the United States might be relying more heavily on that alliance going forward, and Trump has hinted at this in some of the statements that he made recently about the Middle East. For Iran's part, the regime which rules in Tehran dreams of restoring the Persian Empire, which has ruled the entire region several times throughout history, while Turkey has similar dreams about restoring the Ottoman Empire that did the same thing much more recently. This sets up an interesting set of questions and possibilities as these two ancient rivals clash in the modern Middle East. What role do the Arab countries play? What about the global powers? And last but not least, what about Israel? Time will tell, and we at TBN Israel will be here with our boots on the ground to bring you all the latest developments so you will know how to pray for the peace of Jerusalem. There are things that are not in our hands, but we know that God is in control and on whose side He is. So keep praying for Israel, and most importantly, pray wholeheartedly for the quick return of our hostages from Gaza who are in the hands of Hamas terrorists. The approaching deal is exciting, and we need to pray that they come back healthy physically and mentally. Our God is a personal God, and when you pray, I encourage you to make it personal. So to help you to do that, I would like to introduce you to Yair Cohen, a 26-year-old resident of Tzur Adasa near Jerusalem. He is known for his vibrant personality and deep love for music and dancing. His passion for electronic music and dance festivals took him to various countries, including Mexico, India, and Thailand, where he formed lasting relationships. On October 7, 2023, Yair attended the Supernova Music Festival near the Gaza border with his girlfriend, Ziv Abud. During a sudden attack by Hamas terrorists, the couple sought refuge in a shelter. Yair was injured by gunfire and subsequently abducted, while Ziv survived by hiding under bodies for hours. As of a few weeks ago, Yair was confirmed to still be alive and remaining in captivity. His family continues to advocate for his release, appealing to both national and international communities for assistance. So guys, please keep praying for the situation. Pray for the IDF soldiers wherever they are in Gaza, Judea and Samaria, Lebanon, and Syria. Remember that this is a spiritual war, and God is using Israel to show all of us around the world that He is a faithful God that performs amazing miracles every day. So if you need an encouragement in your life, take a look at Israel that is winning against all odds because God is true to His promises to Israel, and He will be true to His promises to each and every one of you. So please pray for the peace of Israel, and above all, don't forget to pray for the peace of Jerusalem, and together we will win this war because God is on our side.
Hello, this is Mati here in Jerusalem with TBN Israel.
This is Yair Pinto from TBN Israel here in Jerusalem. TBN Israel is keeping viewers informed with Israel-focused news, culture, and what God is doing in this land.
Support TBN Israel today online at tbn.org/Israel. Thank you.